My name is Romain, and for the past 10 years, I've been on a quest to tackle America's toughest personal finance situations. Leveraging my Ivy League master degree and personal experience, I've found solutions for what seems impossible. In 1 year, you can completely be in a different spot. Are we ready to take action?
Yes.
Will this be the one I cannot solve? Let's see what happens.
The mother of my child was threatening while sending cops over, threatening me of kidnapping. That's where my darkest point of my life started. After she has the baby, I co-signed for a car for her.
Oof.
Co-signed for her master's program because nobody...
Tens of thousands of dollars.
Yes, tens of thousands of dollars.
You have accumulated a total of $81,972. How did we reach such a devastating situation? Welcome to Finance Action, the show where we take action. My name is Romain, and today I am with Jelani. Jelani, how are you doing?
Doing great, sir.
Awesome. Jelani, let's look at your profile. You are 30 years old. You currently live in Los Angeles, and you work in education as an interventionist for children. Is that right?
Yes, sir.
Awesome. Looking at the way you've rated your personal finances, from chilling to Mayday, you rated yourself as I'm okay, which is great to hear, but I don't know if we'll have together the same assessment on your situation. There is some spice and juice right here. Jelani, what's going on?
Oh, man. I'm bouncing back from probably my darkest time of my life. Basically I started off as a high school kid who had it all figured out. I was going to be a college level athlete. I was trained by an NFL level trainer. And because of a traumatic injury, I had to watch on the sidelines as my team won 2 championships. I was on the sideline just watching.
Because of an injury? Because
of the injury. And so that changed my whole perspective on life. I didn't have a backup plan besides football. So through graduating high school and going to college, I met my first girlfriend, had a baby, and all of that collapsed within about 2.5 hours. After getting the house and the 2 cars, the perfect little family life, the last 4 years have been bouncing back from that very dramatic part of my life.
So you were meant, my friend, to be as a professional football player. Massive injury. What's going through your head at the time then?
All I can say was it went from me getting letters in the mail, training with some of the best football players in Los Angeles and Las Vegas. I was out here too. And it went from that to the doctor telling me, hey, if you hurt yourself again to this level, you're risking amputation. You're risking all types of things we don't even know, because the next injury could bring some stuff that we haven't seen.
What type of injury did you have at the time, and how did it happen?
I don't know the specific name of it, but basically it was a very escalated level of a dislocation on my shoulder.
From impact, pretty much.
Yes, the first game of the season, I was starting. Everybody was so happy to see me on the field. First game of the season, went and hit like one of the biggest guys on their team. And the impact was, it was like somebody shot me in my shoulder. And when I hit the ground, I went to get up, but my arm stayed on the floor. So it was and that was another set of pain. So it was like the impact was kind of shocking, but then trying to get up, my arm was just on the floor and that hurt again. So then I just laid back on the floor screaming. The whole stadium heard me. The whole stadium was just quiet because they knew it was bad. It was one of those times.
So your trajectory right away changed. Mm-hmm. You have to become now a new person, new identity. You didn't have anything planned for college at the time. I mean, the whole story was pretty much penned out. Mm-hmm. But this arises. So what do you do?
Well, there's 2 options in a situation like that for somebody where your whole life plan goes out the door. You either give up on everything or you go back to square one. And I knew in that moment I couldn't do it to myself for some high school football games, and I knew I had to changed my perspective on everything. So I did decide to go to college and keep following my dreams, keep chasing my dreams, regardless, of my past.
And so throughout that time, then you had to also go through plenty of small jobs to keep yourself afloat financially.
Yes. Oh, man. I've done everything. I've worked in retail, selling shoes. I worked at a gas station overnight in one of the toughest neighborhoods in LA County. I've worked as a forklifter.
So chasing it all.
Right.
You meet a girl, and that becomes your first love. But something happens with this person.
At the time when I met that girl, I was doing great. I had good grades in college. I was interning for one of the biggest entertainment companies in Hollywood, in the world. When I met her, it was my first girlfriend. So I just wanted to take it seriously. I'm like, oh, this is my first girl I actually care about. Let's do it. We had a child very fast, probably about a year into dating.
But then red flag starts to come through.
Yes. The red flags, I didn't know her friends. I didn't know her family. It was just so much after she got pregnant. It was just such a whirlwind for me. I didn't know what to do. It was just like, okay, I just know I have to be a dad. And that was just my whole focus, being there for her, being there for the baby. I mean, I was the first person my daughter saw when she opened her eyes. That's how close I was to her, like while she was pregnant and everything. So after she has the baby, I co-signed for a car for her. Ooh. Co-signed for her master's program because nobody...
Tens of thousands of dollars.
Yes, tens of thousands of dollars because nobody in her family could sign for her. She wasn't in contact with them. So I basically took on all of that on my credit profile. After she got a body makeover after having the baby and got her master's, there was a change of mindset. It was, the young couple working it out, grinding it out. And then it went from that to,
I don't need you anymore.
I don't need you anymore. What do I need? What do I need you for if I have the master's degree, I have the car, I have the body? What do I need you for anymore?
And all of that financial burden was on you.
Yes.
So what happens from there? Because that kind of create tensions in a couple, I can imagine.
Yeah, it creates tensions. So about the last year that we were together, not to make it, not to bash her or anything or women at all, but it was a man trying to be a dad, ignoring my love life. I didn't come home and hug her, kiss her. It wasn't even like that for like a year, the last year that we were together. And then as an aftermath of that, I was broken up with over text message. And within 2 hours, I was basically talking to police, letting them know I did not kidnap my daughter.
She accused you of kidnapping?
Yes. After I picked her up.
Hold on. How do you get accused of kidnapping? What happened?
She sent me a text message in the morning.
Yeah.
I got to my house lunchtime, picked up all my stuff that she had bagged up. We have not talked in person yet. This is over text message.
Yeah.
I take it, put it in the car. Said, hey, I'll see you later. Gonna go pick up our daughter. Went to go pick up our daughter from school. Drove to her grandparents' house, my daughter's grandparents' house, which is total, like I said, about 2 hours. Once I got to my parents' house, I get a phone call. How dare you take our daughter? You kidnapped her. I'm going to call the police. Hung up. Now, here's where it gets interesting. After that phone call of saying, oh, you kidnapped her, I get a text message later that night threatening me. Bring my effing daughter back right now or I'm going to myself. Now, She was willing to end her life in order to make me look bad in this situation. So that's where my darkest point of my life started, was the mother of my child was threatening while sending cops over, threatening me of kidnapping.
And you didn't know anything about this girl?
I knew that she liked chocolate cereal and pepperoni pizza from Domino's. Other than that, I had no idea about this woman.
So why didn't you break up with her like over the time, even before having that child?
Like I said, it was my first girlfriend. I was so into sports and my education. I didn't ever date like that. So the first girl to sit down and do homework with me, I'm thinking, oh, this girl is perfect. She's going to be my lifelong partner. But my inexperience with dating,
Got to you.
got to me.
And from that point, now she has been putting difficult roadblocks throughout your life.
Mm-hmm.
Can you expand a little bit about what happened at some point with your parents?
So after her falsely claiming that I kidnapped my daughter, she realized that wasn't going to work. She went to the court and filed restraining orders on my parents against my daughter. So my daughter couldn't see her grandparents in the same room for 2 months.
But your daughter at the time was living at the house of your parents.
Yes. So on the days that she was over, my parents bought hotel rooms so they wouldn't be implicated.
Oof.
The first time that this happened, though, that my daughter came over after the restraining orders, all of a sudden there's cops outside within 10 minutes.
So she called to have them arrested, but you guys thought about this.
We thought 3 steps ahead. We already knew she was going to call the cops to try to get my parents arrested. So we had them in a hotel, and then we FaceTimed the cops and let them know, hey, they're not even here. I went outside, FaceTimed them. Hello, officer, how's it going? Yeah, my parents are right here in another location. Don't worry. He was like, oh, I'm so sorry about this. So sorry about this at all. Yeah.
But the story gets even worse.
During the beginning of the breakup, while the cops are trying to arrest me for kidnapping, trying to arrest my parents for a restraining order, I have an uncle that's calling me, talking to me as if I'm the one that broke up our family. Why did you break up the family? What's wrong with you? She's a nice girl. Da, 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 da. And I was just like, I've known you for 30 years. You've met her twice in the last 2 years. What am I missing? You know what I mean? What's going on? We had a big phone call discussion, and I broke down a little bit on him, and I said, hey, honestly, I was at your custody case when I was 11 years old. You probably don't remember, but I was there at 11 years old watching you fight for the custody of your son, crying to my parents, oh, I might lose custody, blah, blah, blah. But now he's on the phone with me telling me that I shouldn't fight for custody for my daughter. I should give up the case, let her run everything. And I thought that was the weirdest thing until one day my daughter comes home. Woo. I'm like, oh yeah, how was your weekend? You have fun, blah, blah, blah. She's like, yeah, we had a great time. Me and mommy were at a hotel. We were at the pool. I was like, oh, you guys were at a hotel? That's not normal for a 3-year-old to say, because they've been on vacation before, and it's usually me or, she's out with her aunt. My daughter was with her aunts and her cousins, little kids, whatever, but she didn't mention any of that. So I'm just like, okay, who are you with? She was like, yeah, me, mommy, and uncle. We were all having fun. And I asked my daughter, I'm like, well, where did you sleep at? And she was like, on the couch. And I was like, well, where did uncle and mommy sleep? And she was like, on the bed. So that's how I found out.
Okay. Damn.
I told you we're getting
Kind
deep
of
today.
like a nightmare.
One of the
nightmare of a
worst.
situation.
Yeah.
So this has been going on for months. In the same time, you're kind of trying to figure out your life.
So for 4 months, I locked myself in the backyard of my parents' house. I didn't go anywhere. I didn't hang out with anybody. I didn't even go to the store. I locked myself in the backyard and wrote down my plans for my life, my ideas, my goals, my dreams, because I knew that this moment in my life would either be the darkest or it was going to turn me into a legend.
And you've been putting this plan in action
Yeah.
through some of the passions that you've been pursuing, but also you're full-time working with children in education as an interventionist.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And that brings us to today, my friend, in a financial situation that has led you to accumulate quite a bit of debt from that partner that you're still carrying. We're speaking tens of thousands of dollars, but you're still moving forward. And so let's look at how you've been pulling it all together.
Yeah.
Looking first at your income and your assets.
Okay, great.
Hey guys, a brief apartheid to let you know that I just released a free download so that you can do finance action on yourself at home. In this document, I've also included 10 steps to set yourself financially. Again, this is for free, available in the description below. And now let's get back to our content. So today you're doing a work of your passion, working in education, helping kids as an interventionist in the specialty of math. How much does that pay you per year?
Probably around 52. Probably around 52,000 a year.
$52,000.
Yeah.
So that is about $3,033 per month net. Does that feel right?
Yeah, right about there. Mm-hmm.
Excellent. Let's transition to now what you have on your accounts. You've provided me with the statements. Thank you so much. I see on your checking account you have a balance of 815. You don't have any savings, no investments. You used to though, at some point. But then I believe that this whole kind of situation crumbled everything from your investments. I see some past investments in crypto actually.
Yes.
But you had to sell out everything.
Yes. During that time, I had my car repoed. I liquidated my assets. I I forfeited my master's program because I was so emotionally distraught. I couldn't even pick up my laptop. So it all crumbled.
And that has led you to, though, still make decent improvements on your retirement fund. I'm not seeing any statements. You're estimating at around $2,500, but you don't know where that is.
No.
Okay, so if you guys find yourself in a situation like this, and I'm going to invite you to work with them, we have a company for free that's called Capitalize. And what they do is they're going to look and search for your retirement account and kind of provide a way for you to transfer it to a platform where you have access, where things are just a little bit more convenient. A platform, your choice too. It's free to consumers. We have a link in the description. Guys, I've used them myself for my own retirement accounts, and it has worked perfect. So about 2,510 on that front, but you also seems to report to me a car. What do you drive?
2019 Nissan Altima,
How many miles?
90,000.
That car today is valued at 14,300 if you were to sell it, but you do carry that on it. We'll be speaking about this. Any other form of assets?
Not at this moment, no.
That's it. So cash about $800 and then some non-liquid assets. That brings your total assets today at 30 years old at 17,625. Okay. All right. Any lump sum of money, I'm sorry, that you may be expecting in the future that we should be adding here or no?
No, not right now. But hypothetically speaking, of course.
Okay, now then with your situation, let's transition to the toughest side of your story, my friend, your expense and your debt. So you currently live in Los Angeles. From what I'm seeing, I'm not seeing any kind of a rental payment, but I see a bunch of Venmo transactions with your parents. So you live at your parents' place.
Yes.
How much do you pay per month for that?
Yeah, so, my parents bought a new house. So it worked out. spend probably about around $1,000 basically a month on everything together.
So that brings your current housing expense to about 33% of your income. We like it to be below 28. Okay. But again, you're living in California. That's a decent, cost of living there. Not too bad. Transitioning to some of the rest of your expenses, and we're going to dive here into your transportation. You carry a car loan for that Altima at $13,200, but upon looking at the interest rate for it, my friend, you're at 22%, and this is driven by a credit score that has been hurt over the time during the case. Your monthly expenses on it upon recording your statement is at $480. Okay. But I'm not seeing much of expenses related to gas. So how much do you spend on gas per month, would you say?
Gas is great for this car, so maybe about $200 a month.
$200 a month?
Yeah.
What about insurance?
Insurance, $180.
$180. That brings your transportation expense at 28% of your income. We like it to be below 15. But looking at your car, you are at least positive on it. Right now, you have equity on this car. You are positive 1,100. Now, of course, at 22% interest, we're going to want this to get refinanced.
Yeah.
But we will be looking to better your score at that time for it to make it happen. Speaking of strategies to better your score, I'm going to advise you right away to get into what is called as a Fizz card. This is a debit card that allows you, like any other debit cards, to make monthly payments, but instead of being reported nowhere, they are reported to credit bureaus, and that allows you for free, no interest, no overdraft, there is no risk of going into debt. To increase your credit score. We have a link in the description below. I really enjoy their product. And so as we think about transitioning to some of the rest of your debt, I see that you are still carrying the student loans of your ex-partner.
Yes.
Across over 10 different loans, summing to $61,000.
Yes.
How do you feel about it?
I feel like someone used me for a step up in life, and they got everything they wanted.
And on top of that, also, you're also carrying your own student loan with a master degree at $4,677, but unfortunately, you were not at the time able to complete it. Potentially, we could think about how we get back into that as we think about your recommendations. Together, that brings your student loan situation at $65,677. What's nice about it is those are federal, so you don't need to pay right now. It seems to me that they are deferred, but interest is stacking on them. We'll see how we're gonna be able to address those. Unfortunately, student loans are not the type of loans that we can erase through a bankruptcy.
Right.
This is something that you're gonna have to carry throughout the rest of your life. I was hoping potentially for the fact that we could argue on the case that those student loans were actually taken on behalf of someone else, and that responsibility could be shared with your partner.
Yeah.
But again, communication must be difficult for both of you guys. So, it's tough for you to address these subjects. He's probably going to tell you to get the hell out.
Right.
Over that time, though, you've also accumulated quite a bit of collections. I note here 3 different collections, not too big amounts. One of 1,207, one of 345, one of 611. A bunch of those were across credit cards that now have been closed. But you're also currently carrying some debt on your existing credit cards to the amount of 432 for one, 507 with credit utilizations higher than 100%, drastically impacting your credit score. But again, here we are working with small amounts. Hopefully, we're going to be able to address those soon. Any other form of debt here that I've not brought to your attention?
I think we covered it.
We covered it?
Definitely.
Okay, we're going to be looking at the sum of it, but I just want to briefly look into some of your expenses. For the most part, what's nice about you is that you're pretty frugal, and a lot of the expenses that you have are for your daughter. I see some going out activities and so on, but a lot of them are targeted toward children, which is nice. You're taking care of your daughter. At the same time, I see a little bit of bar expenses, about twice a month here, but again, things are pretty regular. How do you justify the going to the bar twice a month? Is there something special going on?
Yeah, I mean, I met a new, beautiful, amazing woman, who made me get out of the house, and actually enjoy life. So, for 2-3 years, I didn't even go to the bar at all one time, So now it's like, I'm actually getting back into the groove of things and, just enjoying the weekends, but definitely could taper it off for a few months so I could take care of this stuff.
I am not a 100 to 0 person. I don't believe in that system. And I think that given the amount of emotions that you had to go through, we still need to be able to bring some joy to your life. And so I will be accounting for this as I think about your wants budget. Looking upon the rest of your expenses, my friend, the only thing, to be honest, that I'm a little bit disappointed into is the fact that you are spending a ton of money on coffee, 7-Eleven, coffee beans, almost on a daily basis. This could be definitely a point of improvement for us. What's going on behind this?
I would say because of this whole situation that happened with the custody trial and everything, it turned me into a person who have really bad sleeping habits. I can't sleep very well. I've had a lot of terrible nights trying to sleep. So now I'm a big coffee drinker. It's like my thing in the morning to get me through the day.
I see.
So,
oh, darn mates. I wish, usually I slam on those, but your story is so compelling, I might be convinced. Gosh, I never got convinced on $7 coffee in the morning, but maybe we can think about it. What's very nice to see, though, is you are very mindful about your subscriptions. You're literally subscribed to nothing, which is nice. And I don't see just crazy expenses. Your groceries are fair. Everything kind of falls within the means at which you're working. You're kind of getting back your life together, my friend. It's kind of what it is. I'm not seeing crazy things. You're not going on vacations or any other crazy things. For the most part, a lot of which is driven for your work and for just assuming day-to-day life. Okay, so now that we've come up to the wrap of our expenses and debt, let me give you the totals. Right now, my dear friend, you have accumulated a total of 81,972. The very vast majority of which is driven by student loans. If we were today to look at your net worth, you are at minus 64,347. That's not a battle that is going to be easy to fight against, but we will look together into the steps that we can take to get you back on track. And so let's look at our next segment, the money case. A brief apartheid, guys, to let you know that I always keep myself up to date with some of the best products available in the world of finance. In fact, in the description below, I've included a list of resources that I use myself, from pet insurance to high-yield saving accounts. So I invite you to check it out. And now, let's get back to our content. All right, guys, and now we are back with the money case, and let's tackle a little bit of the finance perspective, because at its root, we are a finance show with emotions. So one of the biggest red flags that I look upon when reviewing your finances right now is that you're positive on a car, but my friend, you're paying such a high interest, and I want to bring to realization what that means, okay? Right now, on your $13,000 debt, per month of interest, given your current loan, you're paying $245. $245 is almost half of what your car payment is. When we bring this together into something a little bit more cohesive, every year, right now, my friend, you're throwing to the garbage, just because of the nature of your interest rate, $3,000. Okay? On a car that you have equity into. Now, $3,000, here I'm being kind. You know why?
Right.
Because this is just the interest part. On top of that, as any form of car, except for classic car, it is one of the fastest depreciating assets that exist. Especially when you have cars that now are reaching 90,000 miles. There is a cliff, Cars, they generally work with cliffs. You go, a car that's generally, there is the first cliff that arrives after 10,000 miles, then it's 40, then it's 90 to 100, and then it's after 150, generally they're dumped, okay? So right now, you're just right before a cliff that may drastically impact the value of your car. So I'm saying 3,000, but in reality, you're losing closely and more towards the $6,000 per year on that car. Okay? And what I see on top of that is right now, given your credit score, having an ongoing debt on that car is not beneficial. 22% you're getting destroyed, and refinancing options. At this time right now, I don't think you will benefit from much of them. You're probably going to qualify, but you're going to be at what, 15? So instead of wasting 6,000, you're going to waste 5,500. We want to wipe that out in playing a new strategy that I'm going to bring together as we bring all those emotions into a step-by-step plan, okay?
Okay.
Let's dive in. All right, Giovanni, upon reviewing your finances, I'm going to provide you with recommendations that are pretty well structured. Number one, we're going to identify together the amount that you need to survive on a monthly basis. Upon reviewing your statements, your monthly expenses, including expenses for your daughter and everything, your rent, cars, insurance, communications, medical, a little bit of allowance for food, you're looking at 2,910. This is 96% of your income. Because your income in California still, given the chance that you have with living in your parents and the decent rent, but you still are stacking on almost 100%. What that leaves you, and I still want you to live and to go through kind of the emotions that you're still experiencing with your daughter being, how old is she, if I may ask?
She's 7.
She's 7. We're still with your daughter and everything that's going on. This brings your current wants. That's the budget that you have to have fun with your current new partner and also to take care a little bit of yourself to just 150. Okay. Just the sum of those two calculations right now, that leaves you with 0 to save. Okay. So right now, you're just being drilled on interest. You're not creating any wealth. And you're just little by little, going through the age, working off needs, but not really satisfying what you need to be making right now to build the right foundations to pursue your goal and to, at some point, get yourself into the financial freedom aspect, okay? So here are a couple of my recommendations. Number one of the biggest things that we need to get towards is increasing your income. Okay, that could be by leveraging your cars, maybe doing deliveries or any other source of ways to generate additional income. You target additional incomes that I need you to get to, no matter what it takes, as long as it's legal. I want you to try and bring an additional 1,000 to 1,500 per month. Okay, this is going to open the doors for you.
Right.
From that point, what you're going to do is you're going to try as fast as humanly possible to reach an emergency fund of $5,000. Right now, my biggest scare is that you have $800 on your account and nothing else. As you're going through that process, I want you to look into two options to potentially move away the vast majority of the debt that you have as a co-signer. Generally, there are two types of options. One, you can get yourself outside of being a co-signer by working with the lender after satisfying between 12 to 24 achievable payments. They may negotiate with you the option to get out of that as an individual. The second thing is you can fight it at a small court by showcasing the proof that your other person is actually making the income that can contribute towards payments, but they are deciding not to. And that fault should not fall against you. So this is a defendable case for you to wipe away $60,000+ of debt right now that are giving you, as we mentioned, a pretty steep negative net worth. I'm just curious, just for a personal reason. So, you ended up paying for, or you have actually the responsibility, being a co-signer, you share the responsibility for that. So as anyone, I would... except if it's maybe a parent or children, I would never co-sign a loan with someone. Never. Lesson learned. I mean, we all learn from our lessons. Same thing with kind of lending money to friends and family. This shit is just, it's, doing business with friends and with family is always proven to be such a, from so many different situations, personal situations, family situations, myself, and upon the people that have been coming to the show. But now you ended up never graduating. She did. In what sector?
Yes, she graduated with a degree in a doctorate in child psychology. So,
Gosh.
Yeah, go figure that one.
That's such an ironic story. okay, transitioning outside of just her because she's not you. She, had definitely an impact on you and your family. I mean, we have the chance here to also have the grandmother of Janani present in the room, and I can tell you the emotions were high. But what I want to say also is from that point, from a financial perspective, you get that little buffer of $5,000 into an emergency fund. I need you to, as fast as humanly possible, being able to afford a mean of transportation that's going to be cash. I need you to sell that car while you're still profitable on it. Not profitable, but not in the water. You have equity in it. And acquire a car that, yes, it's not going to be as luxurious, probably like a Mitsubishi Mirage, $5,000 to $6,000 that gives you 45 miles a gallon. No problem. I love those cars. I kind of recommend to everyone. It's the most underrated car on the market. People don't know about it, but it's a jackpot. I've had two myself. Really enjoyed them. Really affordable and cheap on parts. Because that debt right now is killing you little by little, as we mentioned, almost $250 that you throw into the garbage, while you could very well use that money for other things.
Right.
Other things include starting to build a retirement plan, just little by little, which refer to as a Roth IRA, just the position of your daughter. Right now, she doesn't have any financial wealth that was created on her front, thinking something like a 529 plan, even if you put $10, $20 in it, just showcasing, and even as you think about kind of the value and the perception that your daughter will have with you, there are things that you can do from a finance perspective to showcase, even if, there is always two sides to the story, but showcase to your daughter that even if you had found yourself at this time of your life into a tough financial spot, you can still show that, hey, yeah, my father probably was, figuring it out, and it will be interesting in decades when she might see this episode, that at the time, he was figuring... That's crazy, actually. I have emotion just thinking that your daughter at some point could very well see this episode. Thinking at the time that my father, even with the little means at the time that you have not created yet, was doing what he could for me. And what that means to you is creating a 529 plan that's going to allow you to put post-tax savings that will convert to her potentially to leverage for education. And if she decides not to use as a retirement plan. But showcasing from a financial contribution, even with a small amount, can, I believe, to you, earn a tremendous amount of respect from your daughter. So I would want for you to encourage to do something like this.
Okay.
Upon reviewing your case overall, looking at your collections and saving your credit score, I talked to you about the FIS card. Right now, I just don't feel like you need to really tackle those. From a mathematic perspective, any financial advisor will tell you, yes, go after those collections and so on. But I want to put the priorities first into allowing yourself to create a little bit of a buffer and let the age go with you. Because right now, you don't really need to rely on credit in the short term for the next 1 to 3 years. Let the age go with you, as it's going to increase your levers of negotiations when you speak to those collections. So here you have about $3,000 of self-collections. That's not a lot of money. Yeah. If you leave it an extra 1 to 2 years, you can probably negotiate down to a 1,000. And what's going to do is you're going to have fees building you up. You're going to have collection kicking back. You're going to have hopefully lower debt because the loan will be transferred, or at least you will kind of change responsibility on that. Your situation in a matter of a year or 2 years can completely switch upon you achieving the task that you're able to come at with that additional income. Today on paper, if you're not able to come with it, my concern is that you're going to be constantly in that debt vicious circle, and you're going to wake up, my friend, in 5 to 10 years in a spot where you would have any retirement, you would still be on a shit credit score, and now your availability for you to recreate, because that's the next goal for you, my friend, is not having this past impacting you the way it has for the past now 5+ years, but to be able to put yourself in a position where you're present financially for your daughter, and you're able to create a life for you and potentially your future family with having a strong credit score, a plan for your daughter, a plan for retirement, a buffer, and not using stupid, or not stupid, but very expensive debt that you've had incur.
Mm-hmm.
And my friend, is my plan for you. I see it to be achievable as soon as 18 months.
Mm-hmm.
You could completely change the course of your life. And I will be with you through that process if you have any questions.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
It's interesting, the emotions that I'm feeling from this side of the table, being kind of very vested into the story. I want to really, end this discussion with you, speaking to an audience here that might be watching.
Mm-hmm.
And how would you want to finalize this together?
I grew up around some of the most greatest women that anybody's ever met. My mom, my grandmother, my great-grandmother, they all have had great reputations in the world. So finding myself as a single father now, going through custody battle for 4 years, it's just something I never saw myself living. My wrap up for single fathers is using that pain of knowing your family is done, knowing you can't see your kid every single day. The switch was overnight. I went from seeing my daughter every single day in the morning, saying goodnight every morning, to now barely seeing her until I won custody, 50-50 custody. Using that pain in your heart to better yourself is the only way to pull yourself out of that dark hole. It's the only way.
All right, we'll be following up with you. You still have a bright future, and I see it, and in your finances.
Yeah.
Thank you so much, guys, for coming on the show. What a roller coaster of a story and of an emotions here on both sides. I appreciate your time. I encourage you to like and subscribe, as this helps the channel tremendously. Until then, I see you next time. À bientôt.
Just wanted to update you on everything going on, man. Basically, from our conversation about finance and everything, stop going out as much. No bar visits every other week. I had my car that was with me when I went to do the interview with you got totaled. So that's an extra $3,000 or so to my total net worth. Coming up next week is the end of a 4-year custody battle. So no more court dates. Everything's all smooth. And picked up an extra job as a marketing director for a church out here in Los Angeles. Things are cool. I really appreciate you having me on your show. I can't wait to see it. I know it's going to be great. Good luck to everything. Appreciate you.